You know, we hear about AI models all the time, right? But what's actually going on inside that so-called black box? Well, today we're going to lift the hood on some of those key AI terms and really see how it all works. And don't worry, no complex math, I promise.
So, we're going to tackle these big questions one by one, and I guarantee by the end of this, you'll have a really solid grasp of what makes modern AI tick.
All right, first up, let's demystify that one word you hear everywhere, model. What in the world is it exactly?
Okay, so at its very core, you can think of an AI model as a learned pattern machine. See, it's a special kind of software. It's not programmed with a bunch of if-then rules like traditional code. Nope. Instead, it teaches itself the rules, just by studying thousands or sometimes even millions of examples.
And you know, a few analogies can make this even clearer. You could think of a model as, well, like a super compressed summary of all the data it was trained on. Or here's another way. Think of it like a recipe for turning your inputs, like a question, into an output, like an answer. Whether it's learning about language or images, at the end of the day, it's all about recognizing and recreating those patterns.
So if the model is the machine itself, what are all the little gears turning inside? Well, that brings us right to our next key term, parameters.
Imagine this. Inside every single AI model, there are millions, sometimes billions, of tiny adjustable knobs. Now, obviously, these aren't physical knobs you can turn. They're actually numerical values that the model can tweak to fine-tune its behavior.
That's it exactly. The entire learning process for an AI is really just about finding the absolute perfect setting for every single one of those internal knobs, and it tunes them all by itself, automatically, just based on massive amounts of trial and error.
And believe me, the number of these parameters really matters. A model with just a few knobs, kind of like a simple digital watch, can only learn simple patterns. But a huge model, one with billions of parameters, that's how it learns the super complex nuances of human language. The trade-off, though? Well, it requires an absolutely staggering amount of data and computer power to get all those billions of knobs tuned just right.
Okay, so this brings us to two very distinct phases in an AI model's life. You've got the time it spends learning, and then you've got the time it spends working. And trust me, these are not the same thing at all.
So on one side, you have training. This is the learning phase. It is incredibly heavy, super slow, and very expensive. This is the part where all those parameters get adjusted. Now on the other side, you have inference. This is the using phase. This is what's happening when you use something like ChatGPT or Midjourney. It's fast, it's pretty light, and all those parameters are totally locked in place.
Here's a great way to make this really stick in your mind. Think of it like this. Training is like a student studying for months and months. It's a long, hard process. Inference? That's exam day. That's when the student just uses everything they've already learned to answer questions quickly.
So what actually happens during that heavy, slow training phase? Come on, let's take a quick peek under the hood and find out.
It's actually a pretty simple but incredibly powerful loop. First, the model looks at some data and it makes a guess. Then it checks to see how wrong its guess was. We call that the error score. Based on that score, it just tweaks its internal knobs, those parameters, just a tiny bit to be a little less wrong the next time. Now, imagine doing that millions or even billions of times. That's training.
And it's so important to remember this. All of this intense, computational heavy lifting, it all happens behind the scenes, way before you ever get to use the AI tool. So when you type a prompt, you're interacting with the finished product, not the student who's still stuck in the classroom cramming for the test.
Okay, so those are the mechanics. But why does any of this actually matter to you as a user? Well, it matters because understanding this stuff is actually pretty empowering. Because when you get this, you start to realize AI isn't magic. It's just a trained tool, and it has limits. You start to understand why things like data quality and massive compute power are so critical. You can see how bias can creep into models through their training data. And maybe most importantly, you can start to ask better, smarter questions about the AI products you use every single day.
At the end of the day, having just a little bit of this under-the-hood knowledge moves you from being just a passive user to being an informed one. And that gives you so much more confidence and control, especially in a world that's being shaped more and more by these powerful systems.
So let's just do a super quick recap of our four key terms. The model, that's the learned pattern machine. The parameters,
Those are the internal knobs the AI tunes. Training is that heavy, slow learning phase. And inference? That's the fast, everyday using phase. Simple as that.
And there you have it. That was our quick tour under the hood of how these amazing models are built. I really hope you found it helpful. Our mission here at Knowledge Equity Partners is to share contemporary and practical knowledge just like this to help enhance your daily life and make it more effective and efficient.
If you found this content valuable and you'd like to see more, please do subscribe to Knowledge Equity Partners. That way, you'll get notified about our daily videos. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and spread this valuable, practical knowledge with your family, your friends, and your whole community.
Because we believe that together, we can keep the quest for knowledge always high. So, coming up next, now that we know a bit about how these models work, the really big question is, how will they affect our jobs and the future of work? We're going to dive right into that in our next explainer, so definitely look out for that episode, and thanks so much for watching.